Hi everyone. I had an interesting conversation the other day and it prompted me to want to talk more about it. And I think it's something that we all could use in our daily lives, both work, personal, any relational part of life could benefit from emotional regulation. Uh, the conversation I had was with a couple, some family members, and we talked about kind of blowing up at each other, not listening during conflict, and being very angry and reactive. And some things that I've learned in classes that I've taken and just in life experience is to try as best you can to become self aware of your emotions at the time of them, and also trying to identify them as best you can. So, a lot of times we could be fearful or sad, but oftentimes it comes out as angry, or it presents as angry, or we feel angry when deep down it comes from fear. So, taking the time to try as best you can in that heated moment to pause and perhaps take a breath and try and identify what it is that you're feeling. So, being able to put a pause between the stimulus and the response. So, if you're able to take that breath, realize that you're triggered, that you're angry, that something has caused this intense emotion, and put a pause before you respond to it and think about how you want to respond and how you want to be seen in your response. Sometimes it feels really great to just lash out and let your emotions have the best of you, have the better of you, or get the better of you. But ideally, especially if you're dealing with a loved one, it's not always going to be beneficial to do that. It's most likely is never going to be beneficial to do that. So if you could pause, think about your response, and maybe state what you're feeling in that moment in a non accusatory. I am feeling right now that you don't trust me, or that you don't believe what I'm saying. Try and express your feelings instead of maybe attacking how uh, they're coming, or how they're talking to you, or attacking them in whatever way. Express how you're feeling in that moment, and it really could de escalate or change the course of the conversation. We it's ideal in relationships to be respectful of one another. That's what, of course, we want to feel respected and heard. And obviously the person you're speaking with wants to be respected and heard. So really thinking about the conversation, thinking about your emotions, thinking about how you're feeling and how to best respond is going to be game changing in it. It's not easy either. It is not easy, especially if your natural response is to just fly off the handle and say exactly what you're thinking at that moment. But maybe changing that habit, changing that, like I said, putting that pause between the stimulus and the response could really change the course of the conversation and really help the person that you're talking to be seen and heard, and help yourself to be seen and heard when you express yourself in a way that is non-confrontational and not in anger and frustration, but from a place of, I it's important that you hear me, and I'm trying to be calm. And if you need space, ask for space. It's okay to ask for space. It's if the other person responds back in anger, I always like to remember that what somebody says to you has more to do with them than it does you, especially if they're coming at you in anger. It really says more about what's going on within them than it does about you. So keeping that in mind helps also kind of guide where you go with your conversation. So there's kind of breathing techniques that can kind of help with your response to stressful situations. Firstly, becoming self-aware that you're being triggered, that you're angry, that you're fearful, that you're sad, whatever it might be, is helpful so you can start to respond and take care of your body first and your mind. So evolutionarily, when we're triggered, it starts this whole cascade of hormones and chemicals that are released in our body, because back a million years ago or however long, we were hunters and we didn't have these lovely safe homes, and so we were on guard, and our bodies were meant to respond quickly because it was life or death. If we heard something, we needed to respond quickly and run or do what we needed to do to protect ourselves, to protect our loved ones. Well, now we don't necessarily have those attacks on our safety on the regular. But we do have things that trigger us. There could be an email that comes through from a boss, a supervisor, or that coworker that tends to really get our blood boiling. Or we could get a text message from somebody who makes us crazy. And it could cause the same cascade of hormones and chemicals that spike our cortisol, or the stress hormone. And so learning to recognize that and then doing something to respond to that is in a healthy manner can really help us manage our responses better. So thinking a good way to help clear the cortisol is to do something physical, because it's a hormone, so it's something that stays in our system a while. It's not necessarily a chemical that can be cleared quickly. So once you realize that you're triggered and you're angry and your heart starts racing and you start feeling sweaty, take some breaths. Try and get your parasympathetic nervous system to take over and come back into control. If you're not able to do that, physically get up and use that stress hormone. Do some jumping jacks, do some squats, do some lunges, do something that uses that stress hormone in a way that it was meant to. Previously, like I was talking about, we would run. It heightened all of our senses, and we had to protect ourselves. So now we're usually at a desk or at a workplace on our phone, and we get that trigger, and we don't necessarily have that physical outlet. So finding a way to use that in a productive physical manner can really help clear that cortisol, can really help get yourself into a better physical space, and help protect your internal organs ultimately, because that stress, that blood pressure that spikes, it can be hard on your body. So using it when it happens is great. If you're able to take some breaths and help kick in your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest system, help calm yourself, help get your heart rate back down, deep in through the nose, out through the mouth. Make that audible exhale, kind of ujjayi breathing. The sound of the ocean is very soothing to our nervous system, so it's a similar feeling. And if you can do it for several rounds to really help calm your mind and your nervous system, it can really help to encourage your body and mind to think more clearly and more calmly in those stressful situations. So it totally went off on a tangent there, but I hope that maybe some of these ideas are helpful to somebody somewhere at some time. I just encourage you to practice the pause between stimulus and response. That's the biggest thing in our human existence, in relationships, at our workplace, with our spouses, with our children, with our friends, whatever situation, out in the grocery store, out when you're driving, which can be a big trigger for a lot of people. There's a lot of road rage out there. So being able to calm, breathe, inhale, exhale, know that the moment's gonna pass. It's gonna be better to just not honk and freak out and maybe respond with gestures, but just let it pass. Especially these days, people are scary. Who knows what could happen if you overreact to something. It could get you in a very scary situation that really ultimately isn't worth the stress and the fear of what could come after. Practice the pause. That's what I encourage. Put that pause in between stimulus and response and see how things might change for you. I wish you the best. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.